Hey guys, in this video, let's create a rig for our robot that we've been building in the past 3 videos. So in the first video, we created the character. Second one, I showed you guys my UV process. The third one, we brought it into Substance Painter, and you also, there you can download the free model for this guy. And in this one, let's go ahead and see what it would take to set him up for animation by rigging him right here in Maya 2024, just using human IK, right? So what would be the very first step to do so? So the first thing you want to make sure, when you select your character, you really want to make sure that he is combined into one mesh. So let's go ahead and do that. So make sure you select all the pieces if you have many, and just simply click on this button and clear your history, right? Once you have one mesh, the next step is let's go ahead and bring in the human IK skeleton by just simply clicking on create skeleton. Once you create it, you should see something along these lines. If you needed to scale the character or the skeleton, you can do so by using this character scale. For example, if the skeleton is too large, just simply do something like 0.5, which is half. Press enter, and you can see this gets reset back to 1, but then the character is much smaller. So you can dial it that way. If you needed to scale the mesh instead of scaling the joints, you could do that as well. Just select your mesh, click on transform, make sure your pivot is in the very bottom, and then if you just press R, you can obviously scale it according to match the rig, right? I'm gonna press space bar. I'm gonna go into my front view. I can press F, and then here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that this button is turned on, which is called X-ray joints, right? So you can see the joints through the mesh. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press W. I'm gonna start slowly aligning this, right? So first I'm gonna align the hips for this guy. Now when you're doing this, one important point to keep in mind is if you go into the Human IK tab and click on Definition, you will see that there is a representation of our Human IK character with all the joints, and each one is lit up green, right? So essentially, the reason you want to be on the screen when you are aligning your joints is because you want to make sure that all of these stay, if possible, green, right? So for example, let me show you. So if I grab something like this and start moving it around, you can see that I just broke that, right? It turned yellow with a warning, right? I'm gonna put it back. So Maya is gonna do its best to kind of guide you to make sure that the joints make sense as far as putting them in various positions, and this graph is very helpful, so keep that in mind. So with that said, let's just attempt to see if we can do it without breaking it too much, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is move my hip, so I'm going to do that, and it wants me to move it a little bit lower, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to move this up, and if I needed to, I can even move it to the side. You can see it's still green, so we're good. I can also at the same time go into my side view, and let's go ahead and press W, or let's select our ankle, right? We'll select our ankle. Let's decide where the ankle is. It's right about here, and I'm gonna grab my foot and move that down to the floor. The ball of the foot is gonna be like right where the floor is. And I don't have any toes. Normally some people put this up here. I like to put it down here because this is where the touch, if you're using motion capture, right, it's gonna look at this as the ground contact. So I like to put it in the bottom, personally. And I don't have any toes in the skeleton. So if you have toes for your characters, this one doesn't, right? So you can always turn on even 2 toes or 1 toe, whatever you want, and then you'll get multiple additional joints. But I don't have that, so I'm just going to leave it like this. And keep in mind, I only need to set up one side, which is the positive side or the left side of the character, and then we can just mirror everything across, right? So essentially just one leg and one arm, and then we'll just flip it over, right? All right, so go back into our definition, just keep an eye on this. So this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and see what can we do here. So the hips are pretty much in a good place. We can move this up a little bit, and we can decide if we need 3 links. You know, if you think it's too much, again, go to skeleton and you can adjust the spine. You can set it to 2. If you don't want 3, maybe he's not going to be bending too much. So totally up to you as far as the preference goes. I'm just going to leave it as is by default. And another tip, if you start selecting this by accident, you're trying to select the joints, but you're selecting the mesh. Quick little trick is if you come up here, you can just click this little button, and that's going to make sure that all the meshes in this scene are not going to be selectable. So that's a quick way of doing it. Let's just move this up. This is going to be our chest, and this is going to be obviously our neck. And the head, usually you want to put it in the middle of the character. In this case, the entire thing, this whole thing is going to be linked to this joint here. So honestly, this is not going to play any role whatsoever. Where I put it doesn't really matter. But if we do activate controllers for this guy, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the head joint. So for that reason, let's just maybe keep it in the middle. That makes sense. All right, so this is going to be our clavicle. All right, clavicles are somewhere here. That's going to be your, I guess I don't know if our robot has a clavicle, but that's it. And then we have the shoulder, right? So now it's going to get a little bit tricky because we have kind of a, you know, exaggerated shape of a human IK or a human being, right? So I'm going to move mine, and I can also turn on the X-ray if I needed to see where the pivot of this is. So maybe somewhere around here. I can press E and rotate this down. And as soon as I do, you can see my eyes starting to yell at me, saying it's not really, you know, aligned anymore because it wants things to be in T pose usually, right? This is A pose, so I'm gonna have to break this because this character is not modeled in T pose, which I think it's gonna be okay. Let's just see if we can get away with this. So I'm gonna put it here somewhere right in the middle. Let's find the elbow. The elbow is right here, and then we got the hand. And I would like to actually maybe rotate this, press E, rotate this up just a little more. All right, now for the hand, I'm gonna go into my perspective view and let's take a look. So we have currently 4 fingers. I'm gonna go to my skeleton, and I don't need a pinky. I'm gonna turn pinky off. So now I have 3 fingers and a thumb, right? I think that's pretty good. If I go to my top view, I can see that my lights are still turned on. I'm gonna turn those off just so I can look just at the character and look and see. Let's see what the alignment is from the top, what it's looking like. I can maybe grab this, press W, and move this back a little bit so it's aligned a little better here. Let's see, what else can we do? So we want to make sure that it's centered in the front view, and we do want to make sure it's centered from the side view as well, which it pretty much is. If I click in the middle, I can see that this is looking pretty good from the side as well, right? Very cool. Now the most annoying and frustrating part of setting up human IK, in my opinion, by far, are the fingers, and there's no easy way of doing it. You really just want to do it by grabbing each one of these, and you don't want to rotate them, right? So you don't want to press E and start rotating them, but if you press W, you should be able to just simply kind of put it into position by just using, I'm the object X orientation, but essentially all you want to do is just find a good spot to put this in. So let's just do one at a time. We'll do this one, and again, the cool thing about this is that we just need to do one arm, right? Because then one hand, because the other one will just be mirrored, right? So that's pretty good. Let's put this in position, put this one in position. You can press F if that's helpful. And let's just start aligning these from every angle, right? I might as well just do all three. All right, so that's pretty good. We could rotate the fingers. They're a little more forgiving and I don't know, almost kind of a little random. So I'm just gonna do something like that because every rig is gonna be different, right? Different pose, different. That's why you usually always want to do it in T-pose, but if you don't have a T-pose, that's okay too. You can just do A-pose. So it's a little more work as far as alignment. So the tip of the finger usually goes away from the hand, and then this one is going to be somewhere here, right? So the bend, so you have the 3 joints. Now, if you want to move something and you don't want to move this one, so like right now, right? If I start moving this, it's going to move the entire chain. I could hold down the D key and move it that way. And that will make sure that none of the other ones are moving around. So keep that in mind. A helpful tip. So let's go ahead and move this into position as well. Again, move this past the finger. And we can move this over a little bit. All right, last one. Do the same thing with the end, just move it past, and there you go. All right, let's see if that's looking pretty good. I can always click on the hand and just double check. I think this should work. All right, so let's talk about the thumb. So the thumb of our robot is going to be here. And for this, I do need to, I'm going to press E, and I do need to rotate it to kind of match mine, right? So I'm going to press W, and let's just start moving this into position. So we have this, and we got this, and of course, the end, right? All right, I'm going to press E and maybe move this a little bit. All right, so I think it's a little crazy. I think something like that should work. All right, now once you finish, I'm kind of doing it super fast, but once you finish, all you need to do now is just click on this button right here, and you can see that it's gonna copy it from the left and over to the right, right? That's why you see the purple arrow, right? So let's go ahead and click on that. And you can see both the leg, the arm, and the hand has been mirrored over. Very nice. All right, again, I can click on it to kind of review everything. I can press F if I needed to, and just make sure that all the joints kind of make sense. Now how do we bind our joints to the mesh, right? So to do that, all I need to do is just hold on the Shift key and select the mesh, which I can't do currently because this button is turned off. Let's turn it back on. Again, holding down the Shift key, click. So now I got all the joints and the mesh selected. I'm gonna go to my rigging tab, skin, bind skin. Let's click on options. If I reset this, and in here, let's do bind to join hierarchy, that's fine. Bind method, let's switch this to geodesic. Skinning method, I'm gonna switch this to dual. Normalize weights, I'm gonna leave as is. Distance or neighbors, let's do neighbors because he has so many pieces. Maximum influence, I'm gonna do 3 because I don't want it to be influenced too high up because again, this is a robot, so everything is kind of, you know, broken into pieces and parts, right? So we don't want the influence to be too high up. So let's dial this to 3. I'm gonna turn off maintain max influence so it blends a little bit better. And the fall off, we can make this a little smoother. So let's go to like 35. And the resolution, we can pump this up a little more. Let's just say apply and close, right? And now we can take a look and see, for example, I'm going to click on this finger. I can press E and start to bend it a little bit. You can see that it's affecting other fingers, which is a problem. And we can, fix that pretty easy, right? By just adjusting the skin weights, I can see what this is feeling like. So there's a lot of little issues that need to be fixed, but overall, I think it works, and this is a really good starting point to, let's see what happens if we just grab the head by itself. And let's just start adjusting the skin weights real quick. So the first thing I want to do is, for example, let's address the head, right? If I wanted to make sure that all of this geometry, including the ears, and not really the neck, just the head, is all assigned to this joint here, right? How do I do that? Because currently you can see if I attempt to move this joint around, it's affecting the head, but it's also deforming it a little bit, so it's stretching, which could be okay for like a cartoon, but maybe we want to, tighten that up. Maybe we don't want to the head deform so much, kind of bend. And we definitely don't want the chest to be moving when we're moving the head, right? So how do we fix that? Well, to unassign the chest from this joint, all we need to do is I'm gonna right click, go to face. I'm gonna double click on this entire chest plate. Holding down the shift key, I can also select other elements that are part of the chest. So all of these and maybe all of this, right? So essentially I just grabbed, holding down the shift key, I just selected all of these faces. Now what I could do is I can go to skin, paint skin weights, I can go to options. As soon as I went to options, you can see all of the points turn into vert selection, right? Now if I right click on my neck joint, I can see that that's called character neck, right? And I can see that all of these are being affected, right? On the chest. Now, because we just selected the chest, this is the only part that we can adjust without worrying about anything else, right? We're just gonna touch up the chest weights. So for that, I'm gonna make sure the neck one is selected, and I'm gonna go to paint. I'm gonna go to replace, and I want the opacity to be 100%, and the value I want 0, right? So I don't want any weights on the chest coming from this head joint, or the neck joint, I'm sorry. So I'm just gonna flood it. Now that removed all the influences from this joint, which means if I go back into object mode and just grab this neck joint and press E and start moving it around, you can see that technically it shouldn't affect the chest, but it is because we forgot to also unlink it from the head one, not just the neck. So let me go back into the face. My selection is still intact. I'm going to jump back into the paint mode, and this time instead of just clicking on select influence for the neck, I'm also going to do the same on this top one, which is going to be the head, right? And let's do the same thing. Let's unlink all the influences. Now you can see it's all black. And let's test this one more time. Grab this one here, press E. And now if we start moving it around, you can see that nothing is being affected except the head. And again, the head is being it's deforming, and I don't want that, right? I want it to be kind of staying solid. So how do we fix that? Well, let's do the same thing. Let's select our head. Holding down the shift key, I can just select all the pieces because I have all these multiple parts. Make sure I grabbed everything. Then do the same thing. I'm going to jump back into paint mode. Click on my neck, or neck joint, I'm sorry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this value to 100%. So I'm going to flood all of these points with 100% value of weights connecting to the neck. So if I do that and go back to object mode, grab this again, press E, and start moving it around, you can see it's no longer deforming because all the weights are 100% assigned to the neck, right? So it doesn't have any deformation or stretching. So just like a real robot, right? I can move it around and I don't have to worry about, I can even, you know, spin it all the way around without worrying about anything being deformed. Very cool. All right, so that takes care of that. So let's just keep going. Next would be, let's talk about this piece here. I'm gonna press E, and if we attempt to rotate it, we can decide if we are okay with some of this being deformed. But again, if I wanted to not do that, let's just see if we like it, right? So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna double click on this and go back into paint mode, right click, select influence. I can switch this to 0 and flood it. Now none of these are going to be affected. Go back here, object mode. Let's grab this again, press E. Now if I move it around, I forgot to grab those, right? Let's repeat that one more time. Let me flood that as well. Press E, and now you can see that nothing is being affected except, well, some of the bottom pieces are still moving, which means it's probably linked to this here, but it's very minimal, right? We just have to make sure that we go down the chain and make sure nothing is linked to these other guys from the chest. If I wanted to, I can always go to my channel box and make sure that my rotation is zeroed out. If you start moving around and you're testing things and you leave it like this, you can always come here, just press 0 and make sure that it's back where it's supposed to be, right? Let's test this. I think that's okay. I actually don't mind that that's bending. We can test our thumb. I also don't mind that some of that is bending a little bit, but I mean, you could take the time and go through and make sure that that's not a problem. Let's grab this. See, like I don't want these joints. I don't mind that this is bending, but I don't want this middle finger to be affected, right? So how do I fix that? Let's do the same thing. Let's just select this. So I'm going to select this and this and this and this. And let me just grab these as well, right? Just in case. Go into paint mode. Again, right click, select influence. You can see it's being influenced. I don't want that. I can just go down the list by links and make sure that everything is flooded to 0, right? Go all the way to the bottom. And essentially that's the process. So now I know that if I grab this, press E, I know that this is only going to be affecting the top, which is, you know, not the best thing, but I think I'm not sure that I want to fix that because I'm realizing there's a gap inside there and I'm kind of hiding that, right? So maybe it would have been smarter to actually keep that closed, that piece there. So I'm just realizing that. And let's see what else. Let's try this one. So you can see it's just a process of quickly going through and kind of cleaning it up. So let me do that same thing, but this time just do the outside fingers. Paint mode, right click, select influence, flood it, and then let's go down the chain. Make sure it's all working properly. All right, grab this, press E. Now it's disconnected. Let me check this one. All right, last one. And we can copy the skin weights over to the other side as well, so we don't have to worry about doing this on the other arm, right? Which is good. Let's go ahead and flood it. very quickly. It's kind of easier with the robot because everything is in pieces, right? So it's a little bit different. That's why I wanted to show you guys how to do it with a robot that has multiple pieces versus like an organic body. It's a little bit different. All right, so now if I press this, press E, it should be pretty good. Yep. If I wanted to copy that same situation on this arm, right? Let's check it. It should be all messed up, which it is. I could just simply select this, go to skin, mirror skin weights. Let's look at options. YZ is turned on, and it says let's do positive to negative, right? So we're gonna do left side to right side. Mirror. And now if I click this and press E, it's fine, just like this one, right? So this should be all fixed. And if you are seeing any issues like I do here, there's a really cool trick in Maya that you need to know. If you select this, right, this problem area, and just select this point, you can go to paint options and just click on this hammer. And that will automatically fix any issues where points are stuck to other points, right? It's rare, but that does happen once in a while. And that's just a really quick way to fix that. Let's just check this one. This one seems to be okay. All right. So I think, by the way, this should have also fixed our arm. It did. Okay. Very cool. So the only thing we have left is just the leg, really. Let's check the leg. Again, I'm fine with this being kind of organic a little bit. I already showed you how to fix it if you don't want that, so it's pretty easy. But to fix the leg, let's just do this. Let's just select all of these here. Go to paint. Let's select our influence and see what's going on. So this foot is affecting this, so I don't want that, right? Let's just make sure that none of this is being affected. Very cool. Again, grab this, press E, let's test it. What's going on? Let's test this. Very good. All right, and then again, let's select this, skin, mirror skin weights. I'm just gonna click on it because I already know the settings match. All right, so that should be good enough for this example. All right, very cool. If I want to zero out everything, you can see that this foot is not properly zeroed out. I can select this. I can right click. I can say select hierarchy. That will select all the joints, and then I can come to my channel box and just clear out or zero out all the rotations. Press 0 and press enter. And you can see anything that was not reset is gonna get reset, right? And now if we wanted to do any kind of fun animations on this guy, we could turn on our controls by, I'm gonna select this. Well, actually I don't need to select it. I can just come here and I can just say control rig, give me a control rig. Maya is going to give me, it's gonna give me the FK joints, as well as the control rig. So the FK joints, let me show you what that is. So the FK joints are joints that you can animate, but if I go to rotation, for example, and you can see all the rotation is properly, the axes are all properly aligned and everything, right? So the FK is gonna be a way to animate something just like you would be animating bones or joints, right? So piece by piece, each one you have full control. And the obviously the inverse kinematics is going to be based on controllers where you just grab something, and right now my legs are pinned by default, which means if I press W and try to sit down, that's all going to affect everything else. And because I have my full body turned on or activated, that means if I grab, for example, this controller here and start pulling it, you can see how it's all you know, it's doing inverse kinematics, right? It's pulling it like just like in real life. Now, if I switch this to body part only, that's going to affect just the arm and not the entire body, right? So that's important to understand when you're animating. If you ever want to push them through the floor, go below the floor, you can always temporarily turn these on, and that's going to release all pins, and that's going to allow you to move the character past the floor, but I do need to be in full body for that, right? So there you go. So that's cool to understand. These you can pin or release the pin. So for example, if he's holding something, you know, if he's leaning on something, I can pin the rotation and the translation and rotation. And now if I grab, for example, this arm while this is being pinned, right, you can see that that's not gonna, it's gonna try to, you know, stay there as much as possible. So it's all animation stuff, right? That's really important to understand how these work. I'm just showing you guys. Another thing that I know a lot of animators like to do is they like to select both wrists and turn on the IK bend, right? So if you turn this on, you can see it's telling you the translation is half, and this is the rotation, right? So if you turn these on by default before you start animating, that's going to give you a better control of the translation and rotation before you animate them. So keep all of that in mind. It's kind of the basics, and I think that kind of takes care of the rigging and some introduction to animation a little bit. Let's see if we grab his head. Can do that. So now let's just create like a simple animation. Maybe let's just have him like jump up and down and just look left and right. Something really simple. So how do we do that? So I'm gonna go to frame 0. I'm gonna select all my controllers, and I'm gonna press S, and that's gonna set a key. You can see this turned red. There's a red line. And let's say I want him to kind of crouch. Let me reduce this for a minute so I can zero in on my timeline. But let's say I want him to like crouch down and then jump up, right? So here I can have him crouch down. Here he's gonna go back up. So I'm gonna press S here again. On 5, I'll press S, and let me just make sure that he's in full body, right? Press W, I'm gonna move him down. And maybe he can also look up. Press E. He's gonna look up and see where he's jumping to, right? Just a little fun exercise. So now he's standing, he's bending down and looking up, and then he's launching up in the air. And then as he launches in the air, maybe he looks down. And you can see if you ever have kind of this snapping, you see how it's snapping back into place. That just means you have to activate these, right? So you want to activate the rotation, and let's do the translation as well. So now he's gonna look down. I'm gonna grab his waist, press W. Let's just move him up. But see, now I can't move him up because his legs are pinned, so I need to release him. Just gonna move him up. And let's grab both of these legs, press E, and let's just do something like that, right? So now check this out. He's standing, he's bending down, then he's flying up. If I wanted to adjust keyframe, I can hold on the shift, I can click, and I can move this around. So maybe I want to adjust the timing a little bit. Again, I'm going to make sure, if I want to copy all of these, I can say copy and I can move them over here. I could do paste, right? If I wanted to, again, move this up a little, I could do that. Now he's kind of jumping up, suspended in the air a little bit, and maybe on 20 he starts to come down. And then as he comes down, he goes back into this position, so I can copy all of these. Go to like 23, let's do a paste. And then maybe he goes back into standing. On 27, let's do paste. And I know sometimes you could see like strange snapping happens, but that actually is not true, because if you drag your timeline, you can see that it's gonna kind of readjust itself, right? So keep that in mind. A lot of times when you see strange things, just move this around to kind of snap out of it. So now if I press play, I have this kind of a silly jump, and then he kind of goes back into standing position, right? And I can of course tweak this even more, but I'm just showing you kind of a basic animation. And maybe one other thing, as he comes down, maybe his arms kind of go in a little more. And for that, let's go ahead and do this. Same thing with this one. All right. And then he jumps up, and then maybe here, before he starts to fall, maybe the arms kind of go out a little more. All right, let's check this out. And maybe it's a little too much, but you get the idea, right? And if you wanted to keep going with the animation, let's say I want to do a little more, I can give myself a little more timeline here. And maybe once he stops, let's copy this keyframe to 32, and maybe let's have him look around. So I'm going to press, instead of animating the entire body, let's say I just want to do the head only. So for that, I could switch to the body parts, and then here I can press S. I can grab his head controller. Maybe he can look to see if there's something on the right. Maybe there's something he's interested in, right? And this time, now the difference is, check this out. If I click on the head controller, right, I know there's a key here, right? These are red. If I click on any other controllers, you can see that these are not red, so there's no keys, right? That's because we are using body parts versus the entire body. Entire body will key every single controller. And if you want to select all the controllers at once, you saw me, I can click and drag. I could do it that way. Or you could just click right here in the empty space, and that will do it as well. So another little trick. And then maybe on 43, let's press S. And maybe he kind of looks this way. See what's going on the left side of him. And then if we wanted to move the head back to the center, I can just copy this. And right now I'm copying the keyframe, but it's only going to copy the head controller only, again, because I have it set to body parts, right? So here, slowly, how about very slowly, he kind of puts his head back. So let's play our entire animation. So we have a jump, looking around. My timing is awful, but I just want to show you the basics, right? All right, so hopefully you learned something new. If you want to just play this part only, right? You can just use this right here. So you can see it's currently set to 400, right? If I wanted to just maybe I'm showing this to someone and I don't want them to see all of this, I could just switch this to 32, right? And that's gonna kind of trim my timeline. And you can see if I press play, right, it's only gonna be showing that one segment, just like you do in like a video editing or something. All right, well, thanks again for joining me today. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in our next video.